So UAE has been impacted by unprecedented rainfall on the 17th of April 2024. It is estimated that Dubai has received more than 1 year's worth of rainfall within one single day, or I would say not even one single day. It was between 10 to 15 hours that the rainfall just poured in. It rained 5.6 inches that day, while Dubai has an average rainfall of 5.1 inches only. So it's actually more than 1 year. Just to give you a perspective, London receives 23 inches of rainfall in one full year. So you can say more than 3 to 4 months worth of London's rain happened in 10 to 15 hours in Dubai. It was not easy for anybody here. Authorities were working tirelessly. Plus, the volunteers, they were absolutely amazing. The citizens, the residents, everybody was trying to cope up with the situation, especially for the residents of Dubai and Sharjah, because those were the two cities that were hardest hit. So why I'm talking about this topic on this channel, because I talk about personal finance, I talk about productivity on this channel. This incident actually triggered a lot of questions from a lot of people, because many of the people that I know were actually impacted, or even if they were not impacted, they were not sure in future if such a situation happened, what should we expect and what should we do as a precaution. So I was just having a look at one of the posts on Simplify is a very good Facebook group. The moderator of that group came on the podcast as well, Ali Irani. He came on the podcast a while back. I have just linked the podcast here. You can go watch it later on once this video is finished. But he talked about a lot of things, and I was just browsing through this Facebook group yesterday, and I found that one of the posts, they were admiring that group and were telling about how important is to have emergency fund, because one of the member of that group, they were stuck in this rain and their house was flooded, and they were saying that okay, maybe later on they would be covered by the insurance, but at the time of incident they don't have any time to call insurance, or the insurance might not be able to help them at the same time. So it is important to have some pot ready for you as an emergency fund to move into the hotel, or let's say whatever possible actions you can do for your family. So it is important to have emergency fund, and normally the requirement for emergency fund to have, let's say, 6 to 7 months of expenses in your bank account readily available whenever you want. But while you're living in Dubai, I would suggest, because everybody is expat here, I would suggest more than 6 months or 7 months, up to let's say 12 months of emergency fund should be allocated somewhere which is easily accessible, maybe in a bank account, maybe in a some kind of bond, like let's say a national bond which can be liquidated easily. So those families, they were happy that they were having some emergency fund set aside in this kind of emergency that happened to them. There is another point that I talk about on this channel is about productivity. So it is important to understand that your time is very important, and once you come to this country, it is very helpful in giving you a lot of opportunities to have some side hustles, do some part-time skill upgradation. Apart from these points, there is another important point that I want to discuss today, which is about insurance, because insurance was the actual you would be surprised to see how Google Trends show the interest in insurance term, either it's car insurance or home insurance. When this incident happened, you can see how after 17th of April there was a peak demand in this search term. It is important to know what kind of insurance you're going for. If you are cutting corners while buying your insurance, you should be knowing the pitfalls or whatever the problems that can occur, let's say later on, once you actually need this insurance claim. So we are going to talk about insurance like car insurance, like house insurance, household insurance, life insurance, your health insurance. Out of all these insurance, only one kind of insurance is mandatory, or I would say two kind of insurance are mandatory. If you're buying a car, you should have a third party cover on your car, but it's not a comprehensive cover. So there are multiple tiers to that as well. So if your car is only covered through third party, which is very cheap, let's say 900 dirhams or 800 dirhams per year, would be the premium. If you want to do that, you will not be covered at all for such kind of calamities. If you're going for a full cover but not as an agency cover, or let's say an expensive cover, then you might not be having this kind of luxury to have these natural disasters covering your let's say your situation. I saw my own insurance policy after this incident and found that although I am paying, let's say, 1500 dirhams per year as a premium, but still I'm not covered for natural disasters. It was clearly mentioned in my insurance document. But then there are people who have these things covered. That coverage was also not applicable while they go for this claiming, because for car insurance you should not be driving the car in the water at the time of let's say rain. You should be parked somewhere in your home, in your basement, in your parking, in a designated parking, not even a sandy parking, because if you, even if it's in a sandy non-designated parking, your insurance might not cover your car. So if the car is drowned, if it's submerged already, you guys must be going through the insurance process or these things. But for future and people who were not impacted, thankfully, they must know what kind of insurance cover they are having. And even if you are having all kind of insurance cover, one should not take this risk of going into the water. So similarly, health and life coverage is important too. Normally the health insurance is covered by the employer, but for the family itself, it might or it might not be covered by the employer. So you have to see that while you renew the visa, you might be interested to have better coverage for your family, because it is very important. Similarly, for the life coverage, it is important to have the life coverage so that the main breadwinner should be insured, and in case of a sad incident, the family should be covered. Again, as for the car insurance, we've seen the third party insurance is very cheap. Similarly, the health insurance is also cheap, but only for the basic health insurance. It is up to you or up to your finances how much you can insure your family or yourself. But it is important to have some kind of health insurance and also life insurance. And then there is another aspect of insurance, which is home insurance or home content insurance, and those are the two different terms I was not aware about before, because I thought there was no difference between home or home content insurance. Basically, home insurance can be divided into three kind of categories. One is, let's say, home insurance itself, which is building itself, the brick and mortar, as I said before. One is home content itself, like furniture, art, rugs, etc. And then one is personal belongings, which is jewelry, electronics, which are mostly movable. So there are different kind of percentage applied to each of the categories. So just to give you an example, a home insurance can cost you around 0.1% of the total value of the home. Similarly, a home content insurance sometimes cost you around 0.5%, and home belongings also cost you 0.5% of whatever value you are declaring for. And then the example values are also mentioned, and the approximate yearly price. So let's say if it's 2.5 million of property, the 0.1% is only 2,500 dirhams. And then if it's a home content that you're talking about 50,000 dirhams, you have to do it for 0.5%. It will be around 250 dirhams per year. Similarly, home personal belongings, which are around 0.5% too, which comes to be 50,000 dirhams. Let's say for a 50,000 dirhams content value, it is going to be around again 250 dirhams. So it is important actually. This whole scenario has taught me, and I would like you guys to also study that how this insurance system works and what kind of insurance you need, and to be on the safe side. And in case you have the insurance, you should be knowing that what kind of coverage you have. So for me, let's say if I'm living in one of the rental places, I don't have to take the home insurance, but I might have to take the home content insurance, because if such kind of flood happen, or any theft happens even, which is of course rare in Dubai. I haven't come across any thefts recently. That is the reason, by the way, home insurance is very cheap in Dubai compared to, and similarly car insurance, by the way, the car insurance and home insurance are much cheaper in Dubai compared to Western worlds, or even in let's say developing countries as well, because you cannot find car thefts, you don't find home thefts, you don't have too many car accidents if you compare to, let's say, a country like Canada, where there is snow and these things. So there are multiple things. Even the theft level in Canada or such Western countries sometimes is more than what we can see in Dubai. This is reflecting on the price of insurance, the premium of the insurance that you're paying. This is the reason the insurance is cheap. While it is cheap, it is not mandatory, and this is what the fix was. People were not used to of paying insurance, except for people, by the way, who were mortgaging the property, who were having the properties through the banks. And for that, it is mandatory to have life insurance as well as the home insurance. For those people who have mortgaged the property, it was mandatory. They had the insurance, and they were lucky in that sense. In case you were having a property on cash, or let's say if you had a property which was off plan earlier, and then you paid for that, and then eventually you have the property on your own, there was no obligation from any of the departments to have the insurance. So it is up to you to take the insurance. So in that case, many people did not go for the insurance for saving very small amount of, let's say, premium, which hit them hard. So this is one of the lessons from this incident, that one should not take things for granted. I'll just tell you just quickly, one of the colleague of mine was impacted in this rain as well, and they were lucky enough to get the insurance claim, not in this rain but the previous rains, which happened I think in March. And they were lucky enough to get the claims for their car, which was a huge amount. And for that amount, even the insurance company were reluctant to pay for the full amount. So they, I think, paid for almost 90 or 85% of the amount, and then the remaining 15% my colleague had to bear. But at the same time, I would like you guys to know that it is important not to spend way above your means for things like cars. If you make sure to use 24/10 rule, which I made a video about this earlier, the rule of buying car, if you use that rule, make sure to implement your whatever monthly installment or monthly expenses you are going to get for the car, and insert in that formula, and only then go for the car. And not only that, sometimes you might be able to afford the car, but still you don't need that car, because you are just upgrading the car just for yourself, maybe just for your wants. Whatever spend you're doing for your wants, make sure to have enough money to insure as well, because I've seen a lot of people buying expensive car, but then worrying about salix, worrying about parking fee, worrying about its own maintenance, the maintenance of the car, worrying about high insurance costs. So if you're buying, let's say, if you have a budget of 100,000 dirhams to buy a car, and you cannot pay for or let's say if you can pay for the salik, or you can pay for the parking, but you don't feel like paying for them because you feel like it's extra expense and you don't want to pay for it, then buy for a small car or buy for a cheaper car, so that at least day to day expense of that car won't hurt your feeling. I hope you got some kind of value from this video. If you want more such videos, I have got some of those videos in the end screen here. One of the podcasts that I've done, what are the possible options to invest in Dubai for 100,000 dirhams to 1 million dirhams. This is the podcast that I have linked here. And then there is another video that I made where what are the options to invest 2,000 dirhams if you have some this kind of money every month. Here's the link to the video. Thank you very much.